I pull into the narrow driveway of my modest Denver home, the engine humming low before I finally switch it off. My body feels like it's been poured full of wet cement, every muscle aching under the weight of a 12-hour shift in the emergency department. The day had been one long storm, 3 cardiac arrests back to back, a little boy with a fractured arm who wouldn't stop crying for his mother, and a middle-aged man who somehow managed to swallow his dentures whole. My scrubs carry the scent of antiseptic and sweat, clinging to me like a second skin I want to peel off. More than anything, I want a hot shower and 8 uninterrupted hours of sleep. The kind where your body doesn't twitch awake every hour wondering if you missed an alarm. The golden streaks of sunset stretch across our quiet suburban street, wrapping everything in warm amber light. Mrs. Callahan, my elderly neighbor across the way, tends to her garden with the same patience she's had for years. She leans over her row of dahlias, gently pouring water from a chipped blue watering can. She glances up just long enough to wave at me with her thin, wrinkled hand, and I lift my own in return before dragging myself toward the front door. Inside, the air smells faintly of lemon cleaner and old carpet. I drop my keys into the ceramic dish by the entryway, the sharp clink echoing through the stillness. My little sister Mia is sprawled across the couch, her hair piled into a messy bun, one leg hanging lazily over the armrest as if gravity doesn't apply to her. "You look like hell," she says, eyes never leaving the glowing TV screen. "Thanks," I mutter, my voice flat as I toe off my shoes. Exactly the welcome I was hoping for. Mia smirks, not bothering to look my way. "Rough shift?" "Brutal," I admit, pulling the elastic band from my ponytail and shaking out my hair. 12 hours of nonstop chaos. I swear, if I see one more person try to explain their symptoms with a WebMD printout, I'll lose it. That finally makes her glance up, her brown eyes glimmering with amusement. "At least you've got job security." I roll my eyes, fighting a smile. That's Mia, always ready with a jab, always trying to pull me out of whatever mood I'm in. I love her for it. Even when it grates, I move toward the stairs, dreaming of hot water and lavender soap when the shrill ring of the house phone stops me. We barely use the landline anymore. Most calls are spam or telemarketers, but something in the sound freezes me mid-step. Mia and I lock eyes. She raises an eyebrow. "You gonna get that?" she asks. I hesitate, then reach for the receiver. "Hello?" Static crackles for a second before a voice I haven't heard in years cuts through. "Claire?" "It's Uncle Rick." I blink, gripping the phone tighter. Uncle Rick, my mom's younger brother, has always been the family's ghost. He drifts in and out of our lives without warning, vanishing for years at a time before suddenly resurfacing. The last time I saw him, I was 16. He had shown up at Christmas, given me a signed Rockies baseball, then disappeared before New Year's. Uncle Rick? I repeat, unsure if I'm dreaming. "Yeah, kiddo, it's me." "Listen, I wouldn't call if it wasn't important." His voice is gravelly, rushed. "It's about your dad. The world tilts beneath me, the walls closing in like they're shrinking. My father, Daniel Matthews, has been a looming shadow in my life for as long as I can remember. A man with a quick temper, sharper words, and a presence that could silence an entire room. He walked out on us when I was 12, leaving my mom, my sister, and me to pick up the shattered pieces. What about him?" I whisper, throat suddenly dry. Rick sighs, the sound heavy on the line. "He's not doing well. Real bad shape. Doctors say. It might be time." The words slam into me like a punch to the chest. I stagger back a step, my free hand bracing against the wall. Memories rush in uninvited, my dad's booming laugh on good days, his angry shouts on bad ones, the way his absence felt heavier than his presence ever did. I thought. My voice cracks. I thought he was in Texas, that he didn't want anything to do with us. "He's back in Denver," Rick explains quickly. "Been here a couple months. Didn't want to bother anyone, but Claire, he asked for you." My grip on the receiver tightens until my knuckles ache. "Asked for me? After all these years? After the birthdays missed, the apologies never spoken, the silence he chose over his own family? I don't know if I can do that," I admit, my voice breaking. Mia, now sitting upright on the couch, mouth silently. "What's going on?" "I'm not saying it's easy," Rick continues. "But he doesn't have much time. If you want closure..." This is it. The line goes quiet except for the faint buzz of static. My chest rises and falls in shallow bursts, panic pressing against my ribs. Finally, I say the only words that will come out. "Where is he?" The next day, I find myself standing outside a modest brick house on the east side of Denver. The front lawn is overgrown, dandelions sprouting between cracks in the walkway. The curtains are drawn, and the once white paint on the window frames has faded to a tired gray. Uncle Rick meets me at the door. He looks older than I remember, lines carved deep into his sunburned face, his hair thinner, his shoulders slightly hunched. But his eyes are still the same, warm and steady. "Claire," he says softly, pulling me into a hug that smells faintly of tobacco and motor oil. "Thanks for coming." I nod, too nervous to speak. My palms are damp, my stomach in knots. Inside, the house feels stale, the air heavy with the scent of medicine and dust. The living room is dimly lit, curtains blocking most of the afternoon sun. And there, on a recliner in the corner, sits the man I haven't seen in over 15 years, my father. He looks nothing like the giant who haunted my childhood. His once broad shoulders are hunched, his skin sallow, his frame thinned by illness. An oxygen tank hums softly beside him, the clear tube snaking up to his nose. His eyes, once sharp and intimidating, are duller now, yet when they land on me, a flicker of something familiar sparks to life. "Claire," he rasps, his voice low but certain. I freeze in the doorway, unable to move. My heart slams against my ribs, a storm of anger, grief, and longing colliding all at once. Uncle Rick places a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Go on, he's been waiting for you." I swallow hard, forcing my legs forward until I stand just a few feet away. My father studies me like he's memorizing every detail, as if afraid I might vanish if he blinks. "You look just like your mother," he says finally, a weak smile tugging at his lips. The words shatter something inside me. My throat tightens, tears sting my eyes, and for the first time in years, I don't know whether to scream or collapse into his arms. I stand frozen in front of my father, staring at a man I barely recognize. The years had carved deep valleys into his face, stealing away the strength I once feared. He doesn't look like the monster of my childhood anymore. He just looks small, fragile, human. I swallow the lump in my throat, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why now?" I ask softly. "After all this time, why call for me now?" His chest rises and falls, the oxygen machine hissing quietly in the corner. "Because I was wrong," he whispers. "I left when you needed me most. I told myself it was for the best, but I was a coward, and I've regretted it every day since." The words hit me like a stone, heavy and sharp. I want to believe him, to accept the apology I've waited for my whole life. But another part of me, the hurt child, still living deep inside, wants to scream that it's too late. "You don't get to show up now and expect forgiveness." I snap before I can stop myself. My voice cracks, raw with years of buried pain. "Do you have any idea what it was like for Mom? For Mia? For me?" His gaze drops to his hands, trembling in his lap. I know I can't fix what I broke. But if I leave this world without telling you I'm sorry, then what was the point of me holding on this long?" Silence settles heavy in the room. I can hear the faint tick of a clock on the wall, the shallow wheeze of his breath. Uncle Rick shifts uneasily by the doorway, giving us space but watching closely. I press my hands to my face, trying to steady myself. "You missed everything," I say finally. "My high school graduation, college, when I got my first job, when Mom got sick. You weren't there for any of it." He winces as if every word cuts into him. I know, and I hate myself for it. The anger bubbling in my chest refuses to fade. But beneath it, I feel the stirrings of something else. Grief. Not for the man he was, but for the relationship we never had. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I admit, my voice breaking. "I'm not asking for that," he says quietly. "All I want is a chance to talk. To know you. Even if it's just for a little while." My knees threaten to give out, so I sink into the chair across from him. My hands twist nervously in my lap as I study his face, searching for the father I once loved. The man who lifted me onto his shoulders at the county fair, who taught me how to ride a bike, who tucked me in at night before everything fell apart. And in the dim light, for just a second, I see a flicker of that man. Over the next few days, I find myself returning to the small brick house more often than I ever thought I would. At first, I tell myself I'm only doing it for closure, to get the answers I deserve before he's gone. But each visit chips away at the wall I've built around my heart. We talk about small things at first. The weather, the Rockies' losing streak, the stubborn dog Uncle Rick rescued from the shelter. But slowly, the conversations shift. My father starts asking questions about my work at the hospital, about Mia, about the life he missed. One evening, I sit by his recliner, still in my scrubs, exhaustion weighing on me after another long shift. He watches me quietly, his eyes soft. "You're a nurse, huh?" He says, his voice raspy but proud. I nod. "Emergency department. It's brutal, but it matters," he smiles faintly. "You get that strength from your mother. She was always tougher than I was." The mention of mom sends a sharp ache through my chest. "She deserved better," I say, my tone sharper than I intend. His face falls. "You're right. She did. And I'll never forgive myself for the way I treated her." I clench my jaw, torn between anger and sympathy. Every word out of his mouth is like pressing on a bruise, painful, but impossible to ignore. Mia refuses to come with me. Every time I ask, she shakes her head stubbornly. "I don't care if he's dying," she says one night, pacing our living room with her arms crossed. "He doesn't deserve us. He doesn't deserve you." Her words sting, but I understand. Mia was younger when he left, but she still remembers enough. The nights we cried ourselves to sleep. The fights that shook the walls. The silence that followed. "I'm not doing this for him," I argue softly. "I'm doing it for me. I need to see this through." She shakes her head, eyes flashing. "Well, don't expect me to." And she doesn't. Every time I drive across town, I go alone. One afternoon, I sit at my father's bedside while he dozes lightly. It dozes lightly, the oxygen mask hissing in rhythm with his shallow breaths. Uncle Rick sits at the kitchen table, leafing through an old photo album. I join him, curious despite myself. The pages are filled with snapshots of a life I barely remember. My parents smiling at a picnic. Mia as a toddler covered in birthday cake. Mia in a pink tutu at her first dance recital. Rick taps one photo of my father holding me on his shoulders. "He wasn't always like this, you know," he says quietly. "He loved you more than anything. He just lost himself somewhere along the way." I trace the edges of the photo with my finger, a lump forming in my throat. "That doesn't excuse what he did." "No," Rick agrees. "But it explains some of it." I close the album gently, my hands trembling. That night I dream of the past. I'm 8 years old again, standing at the top of the stairs, listening to my parents fight. My father's voice is loud, angry. My mother's quiet but firm. I don't understand the words, only the fear. And then silence, followed by the slam of a door. I wake in a cold sweat, tears wet on my cheeks. For the first time in years, I realize I'm not angry because I hate him. I'm angry because I still love him. And that terrifies me. The next visit, I find my father sitting up straighter than usual, a spark of energy in his tired eyes. He pats the chair beside him. "Sit, Claire. Claire, I want to tell you something." I lower myself into the seat, bracing for whatever confession is coming. "I don't expect forgiveness," he begins. "But I need you to know, leaving wasn't about you or Mia. It was about me. I was drowning in my own failures, and instead of fighting, I ran. It was the worst mistake of my life." My throat tightens. "Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Watching mom break her back to keep us afloat? Watching Mia cry because she thought she did something wrong?" His eyes glisten with tears. "I know, and I'll never forgive myself for it. But I want you to remember me as more than just the man who left. I want you to remember that I loved you. Always." The dam inside me finally cracks. Tears spill down my cheeks, hot and relentless. "Why didn't you tell me that sooner?" I whisper. His voice breaks. "Because I didn't think I deserved to." I leave that night with my heart heavier than ever. The streets blur past as I drive home, my vision clouded by tears. For the first time, I realize forgiveness isn't about him. It's about me, about freeing myself from the weight of anger I've carried for so long. But am I ready to let it go? The days blur together. Work at the hospital is as chaotic as ever, patients pouring through the doors, alarms shrieking, the endless rhythm of rushing from one room to the next. But no matter how busy my shifts get, my mind drifts back to that small brick house on the east side of Denver. I start going almost every evening after work. Uncle Rick is always there, hovering like a guardian, but he gives us space when we need it. My father and I spend hours talking, sometimes in long stretches of silence, other times in bursts of painful honesty. One night, as the late summer rain drums against the windows, I find myself asking the question that has haunted me for years. Why didn't you ever come back? My voice is sharp, but underneath is the trembling of a child who never stopped waiting. He exhales slowly, his thin chest rising and falling. Because I thought you'd be better off without me. I shake my head, anger rising. That's not your choice to make. You abandoned us. You abandoned me. His eyes fill with regret. I know, and it kills me every day. But I was weak, Claire. I couldn't face my own failures, so I ran. And I kept running until I didn't know how to turn back. The honesty in his voice slices through me. It's not enough, but it's more than I ever thought I'd get. At home. Mia grows colder. She watches me lace up my shoes each night, arms crossed, jaw tight. You're letting him pull you back in, she says, bitterly. He doesn't deserve this, Claire. He doesn't deserve you. I'm not doing this for him, I argue, trying to keep my tone calm. I'm doing it for me. I need answers. I need to see him before it's too late. She shakes her head. You're going to regret it. Mark my words. But even as she storms off, slamming her bedroom door, I can't stay away. One Sunday afternoon, I sit by my father's side, flipping through an old shoebox of photos Rick pulled from the closet. My dad's hands tremble as he sorts through them. Birthdays, vacations, fragments of a family that once felt whole. He pauses on a photo of me at 8 years old, sitting on his shoulders at the county fair, cotton candy in my hand and a wide smile on my face. You loved that day, he murmurs. Wouldn't stop talking about the Ferris wheel for weeks. I study the picture, my chest tightening. I don't remember the laughter. I remember the fights that followed. But looking at the photo, I realized both things were true. There were good days. And there were terrible ones. And both shaped me. Do you ever wonder what it would have been like if you stayed? I ask quietly. He sighs, eyes distant. Every single day. But wondering doesn't change what I did. His words linger, sharp and heavy. That night, I find myself dreaming again. I'm 12 years old, standing on the porch as my father drives away. The taillights glow red, fading into the distance. My mother's hand squeezes my shoulder, but her eyes are full of tears. I wait, gasping, clutching my sheets. The echo of loss heavy in my chest. The next morning, I call out sick from work for the first time in months. I can't shake the dream, can't shake the weight pressing down on me. By noon, I'm back at the brick house, sitting silently by my father's side. He studies me for a long moment before speaking. You look tired. I laugh bitterly. That's an understatement. Hospital life, he says with a faint smile. I couldn't do what you do. Takes more strength than I ever had. I stare at him, torn between gratitude and resentment. You had strength. You just used it to walk away. His smile fades. You're right. The quiet stretches between us, broken only by the steady hiss of oxygen. For the first time, I realize how little time we might have left. A week later, the breaking point comes. I arrive late in the evening, exhausted after a double shift, only to find Mia standing in the living room with Uncle Rick. Her arms are crossed, her jaw set like stone. What are you doing here? I ask, stunned. I wanted to see it for myself, she snaps. To see what kind of spell he's put you under. Mia, Rick says gently. Maybe this isn't the time, but she cuts him off. No, I've held my tongue long enough. He doesn't get to sit here, pretending he cares when he abandoned us for years. Her words hang sharp in the air. My father shifts uncomfortably in his chair, guilt written across his face. Mia, please, he rasps. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but don't you dare, she snaps, her voice shaking. Don't you dare act like you care about us now. Where were you when Mom was working 3 jobs to keep the lights on? Where were you when Claire cried herself to sleep every night? Where were you when I begged for someone to explain why my dad didn't want me? Tears stream down her cheeks as her voice cracks. You don't get to come back now and act like a father. You're nothing to me. The room goes silent. I can barely breathe. My father bows his head, his shoulders shaking. For the first time, I see him cry, silent tears carving lines down his withered face. I'm sorry, he whispers. I'm so sorry. But Mia turns and storms out, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoes like a gunshot in the quiet house. I sit frozen, torn in two. My heart aches for Mia for the years of hurt she carries. But it also aches for the broken man in front of me, who finally seems to understand the damage he caused. Uncle Rick places a hand on my shoulder. Give her time, he says softly, but deep down, I know Mia may never come back. Later that night, as I prepare to leave, my father calls my name. Claire. His voice is weak but steady. Don't let my mistakes define you. Don't carry my burden as your own. You deserve more than that. I pause at the doorway, tears blurring my vision. For once, I don't argue. I just nod. Driving home, the city lights blur into streaks of gold and red. My heart is heavy, but for the first time, I feel something shift inside me. Maybe forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. Maybe it's about learning to live with it. The weeks slip by, marked by hospital shifts during the day and quiet evenings in the small brick house on the east side of Denver. My father's strength fades with each visit. His voice grows softer, his frame weaker, but his eyes, those tired, regretful eyes, remain fixed on me, as if memorizing every detail before time runs out. I find myself sitting closer to him now, no longer afraid of the silence between us. Sometimes we talk. Sometimes we just sit, listening to the hiss of the oxygen tank and the ticking of the clock. Strangely, the quiet feels almost comforting. Uncle Rick hovers nearby, always steady, always patient. He cooks, cleans, and takes calls from doctors, but he also gives me and my father space. It's as if he knows these final days aren't about him. One evening, after another grueling 12-hour shift, I stop by the house and find my father awake, waiting. His breathing is shallow, his skin pale. But there's a spark in his eyes I haven't seen before. Claire, he whispers, gesturing for me to sit. I don't have much time left. There's something I need to say. I sit down, bracing myself. You've carried my mistakes on your shoulders for too long, he says, his voice trembling. The anger, the hurt, it's not yours to bear. I don't want you to live the rest of your life chained to what I did wrong. Promise me you'll let it go. Tears sting my eyes. I don't know if I can. You can, he insists, his frail hand reaching for mine. His skin is cold, his grip weak, but the weight of his words is strong. Forgiveness isn't about me. It's about you. Set yourself free. The dam I've been holding back breaks. Tears stream down my face as I squeeze his hand. I wanted you to be there, I sob. I wanted you at my graduation, at Mom's bedside when she was sick. I wanted you to meet the person I've become. And you weren't. You missed everything. His own tears fall, glistening in the dim light. I know, and I will regret that until my last breath. But if I could give you one thing, it would be peace. Don't let my absence ruin the rest of your life. I bow my head, shoulders shaking as years of pain spill out of me. For the first time, I don't hold it in. I'd cry like the little girl who stood on the porch, watching her father's taillights disappear, and when the tears finally slow, something inside me feels lighter. Not healed, not whole, but lighter. A few days later, the call comes. It's Uncle Rick. His voice is steady, but soft. Claire, it's time. I rush to the house, my scrub still on, the smell of antiseptic clinging to me. The sky is dark. The city lights blurring as I drive too fast through empty streets. My chest feels tight, my breath shallow. When I arrive, the house is silent. Too silent. Rick meets me at the door. His eyes red. He's been asking for you, he says quietly. I hurry to the bedroom, my heart pounding. My father lies in bed, smaller than ever, his breath shallow, uneven. The oxygen mask sits discarded on the table. His eyes flicker open when he sees me. Claire, he whispers. I take his hand, tears already streaming down my cheeks. I'm here, Dad. A faint smile tugs at his lips. You called me Dad. My throat tightens. That's who you are. No matter what happened, you're still my dad. His chest rises and falls in slow, uneven rhythm. I'm sorry for everything, but I'm proud of you. So proud. I squeeze his hand, my tears falling onto the sheets. I forgive you, I whisper, my voice trembling. I don't know how or why, but I do. I forgive you. His eyes glisten with tears. Thank you. A long silence stretches between us, broken only by his labored breaths. Then, with one final exhale, his chest stills. The room is so quiet. It feels like the world has stopped. I press my forehead to his hand, sobbing, the grief crashing over me in waves. But beneath the sorrow, there is something else. A strange, fragile peace, because I said the words. Because I let go. The funeral is small, quiet. A few distant relatives, a handful of neighbors, Uncle Rick by my side. Mia doesn't come. I don't blame her. She isn't ready, and maybe she never will be. As I stand by the graveside, the crisp autumn wind brushing against my skin. I close my eyes and picture him as he once was. Strong, laughing, holding me on his shoulders at the fair. Not perfect, not whole, but mine. I whisper a final goodbye and let the tears fall freely. Life moves forward, as it always does. I return to the hospital, to the chaos and long shifts, to the endless stream of patients who need me. But something inside me has shifted. The anger that once gnawed at me feels quieter now, less sharp. One evening, I find Mia sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She glances up, her expression guarded. How was it? She asks softly, surprising me. Hard, I admit. But I'm glad I went. I'm glad I said what I needed to say. She looks away, her jaw tight. I couldn't do it. That's okay, I say gently. You don't have to. We all heal differently. For a moment, silence hangs between us. Then Mia's eyes glisten, and she whispers, Do you think he really loved us? I take a deep breath. Yes, he just didn't know how to show it. She nods slowly, a single tear slipping down her cheek. And for the first time, I see the wall around her heart begin to crack. Weeks later, I sit in my living room with a cup of tea, the soft hum of the city outside my window. I think about everything that happened, the anger, the tears, the forgiveness I never thought I'd give, and I realize something. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It doesn't excuse the mistakes or the pain. But it frees you. It gives you permission to stop carrying someone else's sins on your shoulders. My father's story ended the day he took his last breath. But mine is still being written. And I choose to write it without bitterness. I set down my cup, exhale deeply, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can finally breathe.